Right, okay. Welcome to lesson number 7, and thanks for coming along. So we have been looking at the Fauve artist's portrait style last week. Yes, we've been looking at the portraits, and we also sort of delved into and having a particular focus at the moment on how to mix different skin tones and skin colors. So we chose the Fauve artists because or the style, that style anyway, because of the way that it was painted. So all the colors were broken down into specific sections so you could see them, and then I gave you a recipe, almost a recipe of how to mix different colors and create a lot of those skin tones that you could see within the portraits. So those portraits were really vivid and bold and everything like that. But the ones we're going to look at today have a variety of different kinds of skin tones, and these are all different portraits from different artists. And I'm going to ask you this time to do a close-up of the artwork in question. So you've got about 4 to choose from. I've sent you an outline of each of those close-ups as well. So to get to the skin, to get to the mixing of colors and things like that, I have given you these outlines so you can get straight down, get the outlines down, and start experimenting further with mixing your colors. Okay, so the other thing that I've also created, which I didn't send because I've only just made them, are some diagrams that have the painting on and also break down how to mix those individual colors depending on what they are, with a few other little bits of tips and things for using the acrylics. So I've based it all around the system's 3 colors. You might have different ones, but you can pretty much guarantee that you'll get close to those colors anyway. All right, so you'll remember the acrylic paints obviously dry quite quickly as well. So it's important to, I would say, if you're just starting on acrylics, start close in on one particular area and build that up. And so you can see how the whole thing is going to work in the long term. Okay, so you might just focus on the eye and one of the eyes to begin with and build yourself up around there, because obviously while the paint is still wet, you can see those colors next to each other, and you can also blend them before they dry. As we always say though, the advantage of acrylics is you can come back to it later and paint over the top and build up layers to get closer to the colors that you, or the skin tones that you were originally looking for as well. Okay, so let's have a quick look on the art wall and I'll give you an idea about where we're starting today and where we left off. Okay, so all of these were our Fauve artists that we were looking at last week, and it was really a good advantage for us because, as I mentioned a minute ago, the colours are all broken down. It gives you a chance to just learn how to mix different skin tones and have a little bit of fun looking at those. All right, so tonight, and if you haven't finished these, please do. There have been some absolutely brilliant results that have been posted on the Facebook group. So thank you if you've shared yours. If you haven't finished yet, please share it when you've done. But let's have a look at some of these close-ups as well over here. So these are the 4 different portraits that we've got here. So we've got lots of a variety of skin tones here. Let me just see if I can shuffle one around a little bit. They're all labeled, but so there's that one there. Let's just grab that one then, if I can. Oh, it's locked. There we go. Right. So this one, look, we've got a whole variety of warm tones in here. Feels a bit cooler over there on the right hand side, but underneath, look, you can see you've got an outline. Now you can create your own outline quite quickly, but if you've printed this off, this outline, you can transfer it onto the paper using graphite on the back, or tracing paper, or carbon paper to do that. So the first thing you'll need to do is start by having your portrait and having your outline transferred onto some paper. So we've got this warmer one, and we've got a really cool one over there on the right, and down the bottom one that is again cool with a few warmer ones, and a really yellowy kind of one over here on the left. So you've got those to choose from this evening. Now I've also made some help sheets for you as well. Now the first thing I just wanted to draw attention to is I was at Rawn's class the other day, sorry, and a lot of people saying, well, why? Because if you remember, I painted the background of my paper a certain color, didn't I? So let's just lock these a second, and I'll grab hold of this. Now I've made this available on the website for you. So on here, we're talking about why you would paint the background a certain color on your canvas or paper or whatever you're using. And this sheet gives you a really good idea of, you know, the reasons why you would do that, and where it comes from and what it's best for. So we've got yellow ochre, which is what I used, and you can see that it's for like traditional portraits, and the old masters would have used those. If you want something cooler, you might use an ultramarine. You could also use a burnt sienna, like an earthy red, which adds intense heat and blood and makes the skin look very alive. So it's good for high energy. And more of a contemporary look might be cadmium orange. And I remember using cadmium orange on a landscape before, quite a while ago. And then we've got sap green. Now, if you don't have sap green and you want to try it, you can mix yellow ochre with Fatalio green if you've got that. Or you can, you know, mix something pretty close. But this colour actually neutralizes some of the redness in some of the skin tones that you might use as well. And then if you don't want any kind of mood in the picture, and you just want it to be quite I don't know, neutral, I suppose, then you could use the black and the white. So there's a little diagram down there that explains that for you as well. And then we've got a little bit more information here about color temperature and how to use that in skin. Now, I know this is quite a lot of information, but you know, you don't have to memorize it or even use it straight away. It's more about, it's there for you to, you know, if I'm not about and you need a question answering, or you're not sure, or you're working on individual paintings, which we're going to be doing after we've done these things. Okay, so we can come back to that in a bit if anyone's got any questions. So the other little thing that I've put together for tonight's lesson is, let's just get rid of that, is I made some help sheets for you as well just before we came on. So all these are the 4 portraits that we're looking at. Some of them are close up, some of them aren't so close up, but I am doing the one in the middle. Now, with the background colors, you'll see in a minute, I painted different parts of this portrait in the middle there with different background colors to show you how that might work as well. I'll show you what I'm doing on my desk now. So you'll remember I started to do this last week. Now, one of the things you can do, because a lot of the colors are either semi opaque or they're translucent or transparent. So you're going to need to, if you want any of your colors to be completely opaque, then you're going to need to mix a little bit of yellow ochre, titanium white. So you've got your titanium white there, and let's say I want this yellow to be more opaque. You can just mix a touch of the titanium white into it, and that will make it more solid. So you can see how it's, I'll come in a little bit closer. Let's get in a bit closer. It's quite bright actually, the colour on the screen, but so if I mix a little bit of the titanium white with the yellow ochre, I'm going to get a bit more of a solid colour, whereas if I just use the yellow ochre on its own, the cadmium yellow I should say, on its own, then it's going to be almost, look, straight through there. But by adding a little bit of the titanium white, you're going to get a much more opaque colour like that. All right, now when we finish the exercise we're going to do, we're going to start working on individual portraits on maybe sort of an A3 size. So I've started to draw that one out already. But this is what I was talking about when I mentioned trying out the different backgrounds, because this quite a few people were asking about this last week. So I'll come back out again. Doink. There you go. So you can see it's really multicolored, but what I've done is I've got sap green under here, I've got ultramarine, and I've got burnt sienna. So we've got these different, and I've got it in different order on here. What the idea is to see how these undercolors affect the colors on top. So that depends how opaque it's going to be when you mix it. But obviously some of the warmer sorts of colors are going to come through on this one from the background, and this one is going to have a slightly cooler effect underneath. So the idea is here that tonight that you can do one of these close-ups, choose a background color that you would like to apply, and then start to mix some of your skin tones and apply them in the spaces that we've got on the drawing to get your skin tones and stuff. All right, so that's the experiment today. The reason I've gone in a little bit closer is because, as I mentioned right at the beginning, if we focus in on one particular area of your drawing, then or of your painting, then we can mix those colors and really get some focus on how all these things work. Okay.
Okay, so for the rest of this lesson, what we focus on is, as you can see, for the first time ever, I'm working on two paintings at the same time of the same subject, admittedly, but with slightly different results or effects here. So I'm mixing the colours and then painting them on both of the backgrounds. So we've got this cooler, bluer background here with the ultramarine, and we've got the burnt sienna background there at the top. And gradually during the lesson I move down through the picture. I only get as far as the nose, I don't get down to the lips, but it's quite interesting to see, and you can see it from here, I think, that our painting with the red background does feel obviously a little bit warmer than the one on the left. So that's the idea of this evening, is to get in a bit closer and explore these colours on the different backgrounds, as this was a question that was asked particularly, people are very interested in why you would paint the background. Obviously, painting the background gives you the opportunities to put the highlights and the shadows on, and those to have an immediate effect, and cut a lot of the work down, you know, and remove that initial kind of you know, overwhelming factor with the white paper. You've already touched the surface, you've painted the surface, and then you're applying the colour straight onto the top, and you're getting the highlights and the shadows pop right out of the picture straight away. So this close-up of painting it has these strong yellows and oranges in, so it's quite a warm picture. So looking at what we've got here, I would say that if we're trying to replicate what's on the picture itself, the original, the burnt sienna is actually working very well as a background from that perspective. But it's interesting to see what other effects we can create using a cooler background. So I'm moving down a little bit here, you can see, onto the green, and once again the blue. So the idea with the sap green that we've got on here is that when you paint over the top of that, it neutralizes some of the warmer tones in the paint and creates a much more realistic skin tone effect. So it kind of takes the edge off of some of the intenseness of those colors. So I mean, one of the things about the way we're painting here is that we're painting in patches of mixed color, and that's the nature of what we're looking at on the screen here. So we're able to constantly mix lots of different skin tones, and you can use the recipes that we had from last week's lesson to help you with that. But it's a brilliant way of exploring skin tones and mixing those at a much closer range, and you know, to look at how the features on the face can be painted using those. I'm just using some of the darker tones that I've got in there. Slightly warm, it is a bit warmer on the painting. Now I'm looking at it here. But to get those rich dark tones, often it's I've used ultramarine and burnt umber together. And then you can bring in some other colours too, of course, like burnt sienna. The burnt sienna at the bottom on the right hand side painting looks bright red, but that's because of the nature that's because of the way the camera's set up here. I'll try to get it as close as I can. But it doesn't matter, it looks good. So it's really enjoyable just to sort of get right in there and focus on these skin tones. So try out, perhaps if you want to, try out a couple of different backgrounds and see what effects you get with those today. And I'll try to post those recipe sheets that I created for this project, so that you can have a closer look at some of those. The one that I've got here on the screen The purple at the bottom there, there was a little bit of a typo. It says that you should use ultramarine, and ultramarine at the bottom there, or was it burnt? I can't remember now. But one of the colours I think should be the processed magenta mixed with the ultramarine to create that mauve sort of colour. But to be honest, once you get going, you'll start to mix your own varieties of colours, which is exactly what I've done here. I've not used the recipe sheet that I'm painting on top of. I've kind of learnt some of those things, and I'm working my way down the picture. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this evening, and I hope you enjoy tinkering with the paint, and we'll see you next week, where we'll be continuing and painting your own portraits. See you soon.